Okay, all right. So talking about tricks, do you think an old dog can be taught new tricks?
Well, I kind of look at it this way. I like to think that I can still learn.
Yeah.
And, if you think, okay, if a dog here is 7 years, okay, let's say an 8-year-old dog is what, 56? Are most 56-year-olds done learning?
God, I hope not.
I hope not. But, or even I'll have people with 3-year-old dogs that say, oh, he's too old. And I'm like, 21 is too old?
21?
Seriously, we're all in trouble.
Oh, shit, yeah.
So they all learn the same way, positive and negative reinforcement.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm glad you mentioned that. Let's talk about positive reinforcement training. So do you only use positive training?
Well, I use, when I'm teaching a dog what something means, then I use positive reinforcement trainer. I'll use the clicker if the dog is oriented towards that or the family is.
Okay.
Okay, but to me, if you want to stop a negative behavior, you've got to introduce a consequence.
Yes.
So I think in terms of consequences. It's not negative, it's a consequence. And if you think about it, if you don't pay your phone bill, what does the phone company do?
Yeah.
They cut off your phone.
That's right.
They don't call you up and yell at you. They don't come over and beat you up.
Right.
They just give you a consequence.
Yeah.
And if you've ever had it done, you probably learned if I want my phone, I will pay my bill.
Yeah.
Okay, so I introduce consequences for the dog's behavior, and I prefer for the environment to do it as much as possible.
Okay.
So that the dog doesn't associate it with a human. Or like how many times does a dog touch a hot stove?
Yeah.
Once. Yeah. Okay, twice if it's a Jack Russell, and I apologize to Jack Russell people. So that they know it's true.
They do. They're all laughing now, I'm sure. Shaking their head, yeah.
But it's not a punishment. It's not a negative. It's a consequence of life. I tell you, another way to look at it is my dog can live in the world of all positive reinforcement the day God lets me. And there are consequences to my actions, to your actions. So I just like to say, use the concept of consequences, or as a friend of mine told me, corrective feedback.
Well, okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That's a good term, corrective feedback. Okay, Margaret, I'm going to ask you to give us an example.
Okay. I have one from my own dog.
Okay.
Just this last week.
Okay.
He's almost 10 years old. He's very well behaved. He almost always does everything I tell him to. We were out in the front yard, and he heard the neighbor's dog across the street. Okay. And he decided that he was just going to romp on across the street to go find Skip to play with him. Then I'm calling him to no avail. I'm sitting here going, you are being a professional embarrassment, my friend.
Don't you hate that?
Okay. So I walked over, and I got him, and I brought him back home. I immediately clipped the long line on him. Okay. Same scenario, same dog is across the street playing. Okay. He takes off again, and I just step on the long line. Okay. And he turned around and looked at me, and he said, how did you do that? And I've got my hands up in the air going, Eeyore, my friend, I didn't do it. Boogie Dog got you. Because I was over here. He was over there. And so he got a consequence for his behavior that I didn't do because I didn't have my hand on a leash. Oh, my God. Okay, so that's critical, isn't it? What we have our hands on is what they connect to us. Was what they connect to. Okay, that's a really good point. That's why we say don't use retractable leashes with puppies. Use long lines. Okay. So you're controlling with your foot, not this mechanical device in your hand. Okay. All right. Oh, I'm so glad you said that. And he has been grounded the rest of the week. He hasn't been outside without his long line on. Okay. And that's at almost 10 years old and very well behaved. Yeah. He just needed a little consequence to remind him that, but I tell you, Val, I'd rather provide that consequence than see him hit by a car. Oh my God, yes. Yeah. And that's why it's so important to do the kind of training and create the respect and the bond and the address the small things and to be really with it and be dog savvy.
So that, the point of all that is that we get to save our dog's life sometime, at some point, right? I mean, that's
one of the big reasons of training. One of the first reasons to train is for our dog's safety. So that we can stop them in an emergency.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The second reason is for their freedom, because well-behaved dogs do more in life.
Yes, they do.
They get to go places. They're around when the company comes over.
Right.
And the third is for our sanity.
Yeah.
So I can say, don't get in the garbage, and they don't get in the garbage.
Yeah. All right. Life is much
those
better.
Those are three great reasons.
Yes, they are.
I do run across the people that don't believe in dog training.
Okay.
And I just asked them, I said, well, do you have a dog? Well, yes. I was like, well, you do dog training every day, because every interaction, everything you say, touch, do, it's all dog training. Yeah. The only question you have to ask yourself is, what are you training? What is the dog learning?
Right. What are you teaching your dog?
Yeah, it's like the dog that was guarding the refrigerator. I said, before we fix that, I got to learn, how did you teach it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, goodness. Oh, that's good. So who is the hardest kind of human for you to train? Is it somebody like that?
It's someone that it just is so involved in the emotionality of the dog that they just can't bring it themselves to provide structure to the dog's life.
Wow.
They really believe that the dog's emotions are so fragile. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That they don't want to hurt the dog's feelings. They don't want the dog not to love them.
Oh, that's the big one, isn't it? They don't want their dog not to love them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to love me.
Those are the most difficult ones to help, just to guide them. And I tell you, one of the best compliments a client ever gave me was they called me the client whisperer.
The client that's nice. Yeah.
It takes that talent to be able to bring people around to say, yes, but love without trust and respect is really just affection. But once you've added the trust and respect, you have true love.
Right, right. Yeah, that's a really good point. When they say they think their dog is too fragile, they're really saying they feel too fragile.
That would be a whole nother podcast.
Whole nother topic, isn't it? Okay, so what's the hardest dog to train? What are your favorite breeds?
Well, in general, and it's just in general, the dogs that were bred specifically to work with people tend to be the easiest to train. And those are usually going to be found in your working, your herding, and your sporting groups. Okay. The dogs that were bred to work independently of people take more time and patience to train. For instance, the beagle was bred to do what? Trail a rabbit. Does the beagle like to come when he's called? Only if there's food involved.
Find a rabbit.
Golden retriever.
Got a rabbit? Okay. I'll talk to you.
The golden was bred to bring the rabbit back to you, so he's more likely to come back to you. Okay. So you think in terms of in general, the dogs that were bred to go away from us are going to be a little bit more difficult to train. Yeah. The dogs that were bred to come back to us, just tend to be easier. So it just means that if you start with a golden retriever puppy and a beagle puppy on the same day with the same training, you'll get there faster with the golden, but you'll get there eventually with the beagle if you have a lot of patience.
And a lot of rabbits.
And a rabbit. You got a pet rabbit at home, you're good.
Lots and lots of rabbits. Okay. I got it. That's great. I love that. Okay. So do you ever have dogs fail obedience school? Well, I think that whenever I hear of a dog failing obedience school, I tend to think that was either the person who found out it was work to train a dog. Or a trainer who wasn't flexible enough to find something that would help this dog. Yeah. It's not the dog. Yeah. No, it's never the dog. It's just that we haven't figured out how to communicate and reward appropriately, find them where they are. Yeah, because not all dogs are food-oriented. Not all dogs are attention-oriented. Right. But, exactly. So you just have to keep working until you find what that dog is willing to work for. Yes, I understand. That's good. Okay, so what is basic respect training, and why does it matter?
But it just is. It's a set of exercises that we've come up with.
Okay.
That teach the dog to want to listen to you.
Okay.
It puts you in the leadership role. Teaching him things like off means get off of me, get off the counter.
Mm-hmm.
Settle down means lie down. Wait means you stop immediately no matter what's going on.
Okay.
Settle down means I need you to get a grip on yourself emotionally now.
Okay.
Leave it means that belongs to me, not you.
Mm-hmm.
And we play a little game we call goalie, which is really a fun game to play, and kids love it.
Goalie?
And yeah, it's one of the best respect builders out there. And it happens at doorways and gates.
Okay.
If you look at the doorway as a soccer net,
mm-hmm.
and the dog as the soccer ball,
mm-hmm.
and you're the world-class goalie that never lets a ball get around you, no kicking.
Oh.
And you stand in front of that doorway and you block your dog. You don't let him go through.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've seen dogs do that with each other.
Oh, yeah. It's a great game.
Yeah, they'll spin their territory and say, you're not walking through here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
That's right.
all right, I'm going around this way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's a good little game where you're saying to your dog, I own this space. And it's like, why do dogs jump on us? Because we give them our space.
Right.
They jump and we step back, or we turn away. And they're like, yeah, got it. That what goalie teaches is, I will take your space. You will not take mine.
Oh.
But it's a non-physical game. It's just like, hey, this is my space and you're not getting it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's basic respect training.
I like that. That's really important. When they talk about teach the basics, sit, stay, down, et cetera, they need to be really talking about basic respect training.
They really do, because
it's more important.
There's lots of dogs that know how to sit but still misbehave.
Oh, God. Yeah. Something like sit doesn't do anything. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and actually, your listeners, if they want to, we have that online basic respect class, and the first lesson is free.
Oh, good.
And it's video, and it shows in the video the settle down exercise and the goalie exercise.
Oh, okay.
And if they want to know, one of the Goldens in that video is the one that left the yard the other day. We're gonna enjoy that. Oh, and that always makes people happy that I'm willing to admit that my dogs are not perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I love that. That makes me feel better. Einstein has his own little foibles, and as do I. So we're all still working on it. It's a life journey exercise. Well, that's great. Okay, so let's talk about stress in dogs. How do we know if our dog's stressed?
Well, if we could educate more people about the language of stress, there would be so many fewer dog incidents and dog bites.
Okay.
I just do not believe that dogs bite out of the blue.
No.
They usually scream it and scream it and scream it until they are just pushed to a point where they feel they have to.
Yeah.
Okay. So low-level stress is the beginning of what's going to happen in the end of the behavior chain. Okay, people want to treat the bite, they want to treat the chewed-up shoe, they want to treat basically the consequence, and what happened. But they got to realize they got to back it up and start noticing when is the dog starting to stress. Okay. Panting when they weren't panting a second ago and the weather didn't change. That's a big stress sign.
Okay.
Licking the lips a lot. Yawning. Yawning is one a lot of people miss.
Okay.
Okay. An involuntary paw lift where they just kind of pull the paw up and sit there looking a little confused.
Okay.
Okay, food refusal is a big stress sign in dogs. People try to give their dog a treat at the vet and it won't take it. It's not that the dog doesn't like the treat, it's that the dog is stressed. Okay, and then if you miss that stress, those early stress points, the dog will go into avoidance or attack mode.
Okay.
Right? It's either going to move away from the stimulus or it's going to go after it.
Okay.
Okay, and a really good illustration is, let's say, family dog usually trusted with kids, but maybe the dog has an earache and they don't know it yet. Dog's just a little out of sorts. Maybe the kids were a little loud that day, and the dog's just not quite as even keel as it usually is. Okay, Dad walks through the family room, and the dog has his paw up in the air, and he laughs, and he says, "Oh, y'all are teaching him how to shake. Good job." This is a stress sign. A little while later, Mom walks through, and the dog is panting. "Oh, are you thirsty?" A little while later, Dad walks through, the dog's yawning. "Boy, y'all are really tiring that dog out tonight." Right? A little while later, Mom calls the dog to eat. Dog won't eat. "Oh, you were kind of out of, you don't like your food? I'll go get some more for you. Let me go to the store." They missed another stress sign. Dad walks to the family room. The dog is up on the couch. Dog's not allowed on the couch. But the dog is in avoidance, is trying to get away from the kids. Dad throws the dog back down on the floor, right back in the kids, with the kids. And all Mom hears is, "Bah, bah, bah, bah."
Yeah.
See how they missed all those warnings?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the dog was just boxed into having to do something.
Right.
So if we just pick up on it, dogs playing with kids and won't take a treat, it is time to separate.
Calm
down.
Yeah.
When I do therapy work, like take dogs to nursing homes, I always have treats in my pocket. And the minute they refuse the treat, I know the visit's over.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, because they're telling me, "Okay, this is getting to me. That's too many petting, too much petting in one day, Mom. Got to go home now." But it's us. We don't pick up on it. And then the dog does, it's kind of like when you're dealing with an animal, never be surprised when an animal does an animal behavior. They're animals.
Yeah. What else do we expect them to do, right?
Your dog will bite, my dog will bite. We hope they don't, but the plain fact is they came equipped in life to do that.
Yeah, and they have it for a reason. They do it for a reason.
So just pick up on those stress signs.
Okay. Oh, I'm so glad you brought that out. That's so important. I didn't realize some of them. Okay, great. So let's see. What else? Let's talk about Reiki. I also do healing with animals, and so you also use Reiki, and you also,
I do.
Yeah, you do something called Callahan Tapping. You want to tell us a little bit about that and how you use it, or what do you do with it?
But the Reiki is just a channeling of energy. It's a healing source.
Right.
And everyone, to some degree or another, has it. It's just if you get the training, it gets brought out, just to a higher degree, that's all.
Right.
Okay. And I like to use it on very shy and nervous dogs.
Okay.
Because it builds their self-esteem. And from your work, not all dogs and cats will accept it.
Right.
Yeah, some will pull away from it. They don't want it. So it has to be kind of a willing dog.
Right.
And I'll also use it if the dog is becoming fractious and aggressive.
Okay.
And what I do is I just lay my hand on top of their head and put my finger across the bridge of their nose.
Okay.
Just all very gently. And wait until they just kind of relax a little bit. So,
okay.
And I don't really, tell the owner this is what I'm doing. I'm using Reiki on you. It's just part of me and what I do.
Yeah.
Whereas I go, you really have a calming effect on dogs. Well, not really. It's this, it's this energy channeling here that's helping your dog. Okay.
Yeah, you just can't see what I'm doing.
Yeah, you just can't see it, but it's there. Okay.
Yeah, your dog can feel it.
I can also do it like walking through a kennel where the dogs are upset.
Okay.
Just projecting that soothing energy,
okay.
Okay. So that's how I use it. It's just something that I've been doing it for years.
Okay.
I think maybe 10 years, and I do it so without thinking.
Yeah.
It just comes naturally to me to do that.
Right.
So now Callahan Tapping, are you familiar with that? It's a human brief therapy technique.
Okay. I tell you what, go ahead and just tell us about it then.
Okay. It goes on the acupuncture system.
Okay.
And with the human technique, they take two fingers and the therapist will tap on the acupressure points, and it's to realign and dissipate useless energy, basically.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so it's used in phobias, people that want to stop smoking, habit breaking. And there's different patterns in the way that the therapist will use it. Okay. And I first learned this was about 17 years ago.
Okay.
I had a lovely golden retriever that had a horrific thunder phobia.
Okay.
And she came across it honestly because she almost got struck by lightning.
Oh, boy.
So she was just, when it thundered, she was just terrified. which I tried everything I could think of, and I had actually gone to this Callahan Tapping seminar and seen the effect it had on people, and I thought, well, if it works on people, why wouldn't it work on a dog?
Yeah.
So I did it with her, and it's a crossing pattern on dogs, above the eye, below the eye, above the eye, below, kind of like you're crossing across the bridge of their nose.
Okay.
And then you massage the base of the ear, put the ear flap between your fingers and massage there.
Okay.
Soothing the dogs.
Okay.
Then you do very slow, long body stroking, and then you go back to the tapping.
Okay.
And what you'll feel is, at first, the dog doesn't want you to do it. Yeah, they want to pull away, so you have one hand in the collar because they're already upset.
Okay.
Now, so again, going back to the stress signs, let's say you have a thunderphobic dog, you want to start this the minute you see that they've noticed the barometric pressure dropped.
Yeah, because they
very aware. You know they do. Yeah, they're very aware of that. So the minute they go, whoa, storm coming. If you do this tapping exercise, you'll feel the energy dissipate. The dog will simply relax.
Okay.
And it took Shelley, that was her name, about 3 thunderstorms, and I never had to do it again.
Wow.
I mean, she just snapped out of it. She was like, oh, it's okay. In fact, I replaced it with desire for freeze-dried liver. And the only thing that happened was every time she thought it was going to storm, she was looking for the liver. She was like, So the whole idea is get rid of that what you don't want and replace it with something that you want. Like, okay, storm's coming, eat liver. All right, I can live with that. And I've shown many people this technique, and I never charge for that. It's just I just bring your dog in, I'll show you how to do it, or I'll show you on one of my dogs.
Do you have a video?
I probably ought to do it and put it on YouTube.
I was going to say, you thought of that. If there was a video of it, then others could see what you're doing and use it. This is such a common problem, not just thunderstorms, that kind of thing, but also other types of things.
I tell you that one time I had a guy call me, he had 2 hunting dogs that he was going to basically have put to sleep because they wouldn't hunt anymore because they were afraid of gunshots.
Oh, boy.
And I was like, okay, I'm going to tell this guy over the phone how to do this, and he's going to hang up on me and call the men in the white coats. All righty. I'm like, okay. So I explained it to him, and I could tell he was like, all righty then.
All righty then, yeah.
Yeah, but then he called me back about a month later, and he said, I got to tell you, I thought you were crazy, but those dogs are back out hunting.
Wow.
So I think that's impressive as to how well it works, even when you really don't know how to do it.
Exactly. I love this. So it's above the eye and then below the eye, and then you cross the nose and do the other side?
Yeah. Well, it's like you're making an X on the dog's face.
Okay.
Okay. If you're facing the dog, you would take 2 fingers, put it above the left eye, go underneath the right eye.
Okay.
Above the right eye, underneath the left eye.
Got it. Any certain number of times you're tapping on each spot, or just one tap?
I do it probably 3 or 4 times.
Okay, 3 to 4 times. And then you massage the ear flap.
Yeah, massage the base of the ear and then the ear flap.
Okay.
And then long body stroking. And you don't want to verbalize while you're doing this.
Okay.
You don't say anything to the dog. You just do it. And sometimes the dog is so fractious that you can't even do it. But you can take your 2 fingers and in front of the dog's eyes without touching them, you can make that X pattern, and you'll interrupt that energy. In fact, you think about it. If you were talking to someone and you were starting to get a little agitated and they took their fingers and started moving them in an X pattern in front of your eyes, do you think you could hold that anger? No. You would get into a state of confusion, which is really what we're trying to do here is alter the dog's state of mind. Okay. It's not magic. You're just saying, okay, I don't like the path you're on. Let's see if we can switch your state.
Right. Yeah. Here, let me give you something else to think about. And by the way, that we can settle down now. And by the way, all that's still going on, but we're okay now, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what we're saying.
Perfect.
Okay?
I love it. Got it. Yeah. Love it. This is great stuff. Let me ask you, do you think it works with obsessive compulsive disorders?
I have tried it with that.
Yeah.
I think if we had good owner compliance, because I've never personally lived with one of those dogs.
Okay.
I did try it with a Cavalier that was one of those light chasers, shades of light. If the light patterns change, the dog would just go crazy.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and just a word of caution to your listeners. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we unintentionally train that behavior if we play laser light with our dogs.
Oh. Okay.
Not a good game to play.
Okay.
Right? And if you do play it, always make sure the laser light ends on a toy or a treat.
Okay.
So the behavior ends. You see what I mean? If they're just chasing a light and they never win, they've learned to chase lights.
Right. That's true.
And that's what had started this little dog along its path.
Oh,
and we did the tapping with her and some other behavior modifications, but I think she still, to some degree, has the issue.
Interesting.
So.
And I work with a lot of that. I do a lot of healing work in my practice. I do a lot of brain rebalancing and working with the nervous system and other kinds of fundamental imbalances within the body-mind. And this is one that's always been, it's always a challenge, to find where it's tracking back to and what started it and how to reset the nervous system so it doesn't go into this. Yeah. Okay, good. Well, I appreciate you answering that. That's a good tip, too, about the laser light. Interesting. Okay, so let's see. Is there anything else you really want our audience to know before we quit here today? Anything else you can think of you want to say?
The only thing I think I left out is if you've ever been and taken college courses, you know how they have the core courses that you're required to take before you can go on and get your degree. Okay, and everyone gets bored with them. Nobody wants to take another English lit. Nobody wants to do Math 107. Everybody wants to get to the fun stuff. When can I do the fun stuff? I want to, but they make you go through the core courses, right? So I like for people to think of the core courses in dealing with a dog are the boring ones. Sit, stand, down, come, stay, heel. But unfortunately, until you get to a certain degree of mastery of that core course, you don't get to the fun stuff.
True.
You got to get that basic stuff, and then you can go on and do the therapy work or the agility or the frisbee or the ball part, But you got to do your basic work first, and then move on to the fun stuff, and then you'll have much more success.
I like that. That's really important, and you're absolutely right. A lot of people will come to me wanting, I want my dog to come, when they're out off leash, on the busy, distracted, et cetera, when their life's in danger or something, but I don't want to spend the time actually teaching them to do anything else. I just want them to, to do that.
I just want you to wave your magic wand and have them come.
Exactly, but when I really need them to, the rest of the time I don't care, but just when I really need them to, just make that happen.
And once a dog gets away from you off leash, there's only one reason it's going to come back, and it's because it wants to. Yeah.
So give it a reason to want to.
Give it a reason to want to.
A really good reason. Yeah, more liberty.
So that means go back to strengthen that love, strengthen that bond.
Yeah.
Build the trust, build the respect.
Yeah. And learn what your dog is saying to you.
Yes.
Right? Watch those cues.
Yeah. And we didn't even go into body language, like the tail up and the ears up, and the language of stress. But body language is also important because a lot of people think a wagging tail means happy dog.
Right.
Right. You look at tail position, you don't look at the wagging.
That's good. So, so if it's really high, like straight up in the air.
Straight up in the air with a tick-tock wag, that means dominance.
Okay.
Okay. Now, you'll see the difference. In a curl-tailed dog, it's a very tight curl, but the same tick-tock wag, back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. Okay, with a tight curl. When that same dog is doing a happy wag, you see rear-end engagement. The whole rear end is swinging back and forth along with the tail. And when the dog is afraid, the tail tends to go down.
Right.
Okay, but a lot of people get bitten or get their dogs bitten because they think, he's wagging his tail, he's fine. And I'm like, ooh, that's an accident waiting to happen. No, that dog is saying, I'm very dominant.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you. That's a really good point. Okay. So learn to understand what your dog's saying to you. And then, like we said, recognize and respond to the language of stress, which you've been through. and to really do what you have to do to help your dog develop socially, behaviorally, and psychologically, right? So,
yes.
Yeah. All right. Margaret, this has been wonderful. I could talk to you for hours, I know. I've got lots of other questions I would love to ask, but I think we should probably call it quits at this point. I think we've given our listeners a lot to think about and process and do with their dogs. So let's tell folks how they can find you and learn more should they wish. And so your website is?
It's www.creativedogtraining.com.
Okay, so creativedogtraining.com. Mm-hmm. And when they go there, they're going to find, what all are they going to find? What you got for them?
If you go to the community page, we have training podcasts. We have, I think, 64 of them. You can get them from iTunes or you can listen over our website.
Okay.
I have training tips, training blogs. We have a forum. You can register. It's free.
Okay.
You can post your questions, comments, whatever you'd like to say, and we will answer and get back to you.
Okay.
We have our online training class, our online basic respect class. It is the outrageously high price of $10.
Oh, no. Oh, that's super. Okay.
So and it's 4 lessons. There's video support, and it's really worth doing. It's to go at your own pace.
Okay.
And really a good little class on there. The other thing is if you're ever in a bad mood, you can scroll through our daily daycare pictures.
Oh.
And you can smile. And we have some really cute Halloween dress-up pictures on.
Oh, I'll bet you do. Oh, that's great. Okay, great. So you've got all kinds of stuff.
And by the way, it's all free except for that one class. My goal sincerely is to help dogs through educating people, and that's why I have put a wealth of free information out there that I could easily have charged for.
Yes, you sure could, and it's important information. So I hope that all of our listeners, so if you're listening now, go to creativedogtraining.com, sign up for the forum, check out the videos, get started on training your dog, learning more, get dog savvy, because your dog needs you. Yeah. All right. Okay. I think that's good. Anything else you'd like to say? We got it.
I think we've got it, Val. Thank you so much for inviting me. I've enjoyed talking with you.
I have too, Margaret. Thank you so much. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.